Good evening, and thank you for joining Marshstream, your performance broadcasting platform. I'm Kristen Shield, Development Associate for the Marsh. Greetings also to our YouTube viewers, and welcome to Solo Arts Heal with Gail, Schickele. Since April, the Marsh has been bringing you free programming nearly every night of the week. There's truly something for everyone. We hope you will subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Marshstream, to be notified when our shows are going live and catch up on things you may have missed at our website archives at www.themarsh.org. We will be posting the link to our virtual tip jar in the chat throughout the evening, and if you are a regular Marsh viewer, we hope you'll consider becoming a sustaining member. Now I'm going to turn this room over to your host for this evening, Gail, Schickele.
And thanks to the Marshstream for offering community service and nightly entertainment and daily entertainment for all of the communities everywhere. I'm really looking forward to the International Solo Fest. That's going to be wonderful. And good evening, everyone. Welcome to Solo Arts Heal. In January, we began an artist collective of mostly solo artists that shared the theme of healing power of the arts. Thanks to Stephanie Wiseman and the Marsh Theaters, this blossomed into Solo Arts Heal on the Marshstream, whose performances are united by a common theme of healing from a variety of physical and mental challenges. And I think we can agree that whether you have cancer, obsessive compulsive disorder, sensory motor issues, have been a victim of domestic or sexual violence, or a myriad of other issues, we are all suffering the challenges of pandemic, politics, and climate at this time in history, for which we attest art heals. Here each week we present performance excerpts and talkbacks with audiences, but full performances are developed to work in settings from theaters to medical centers to community nonprofits and other healing environments. Solo Arts Heal is a theater of resilience, born from artists' true stories that celebrate overcoming adversity and promote health advocacy, performance and informants on health and wellness-related issues, including the health crisis of climate change. Solo Arts Heal embraces the healing power of the arts. Tonight, this couldn't be more accentuated than with the life stories of Amy Oestreicher, whose survival and resilience is a jaw-dropping inspiration. Let me introduce you to her. Amy Oestreicher is an Audie Award-nominated playwright, performer, and multidisciplinary creator. A singer, librettist, and visual artist, she dedicates her work to celebrating untold stories and the detours in life that can spark connection and transform communities. Amy overcame a decade of trauma to become a sought-after PTSD specialist, artist, author, writer for the Huffington Post, international keynote speaker, health advocate, and RAINN representative. RAINN is the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, the nation's largest anti-sexual violence organization. She has given 3 TEDx talks on transforming trauma through creativity and has a 4th talk coming up in October. We'll talk about that in the talkback. She's contributed to NBC's Today, CBS, Cosmopolitan, 17 Magazine, The Washington Post, among others. Amy has toured her multi-award-winning musical, Gutless and Grateful, to over 200 venues, from 54 Below to Barrington Stage Company, since its 2012 New York City debut. Her multimedia musical, Passageways, has been performed at Here Art Center, Dixon Place, and the Triad Theater. Her memoir, My Beautiful Detour, An Unthinkable Journey from Gutless to Grateful, was awarded winner of Best Memoir Autobiography at the Connecticut Press Awards today. She is releasing her audiobook for her memoir this fall. And now, first, we're going to see a trailer of her show, and then her live excerpt performance of Gutless and Grateful. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Amy Oestreicher.
19-year-old Amy Oestreicher's stomach literally exploded.
I'm still alive, I'm still here by my will, for I knew I just had to survive. Now there's not a day that my heart doesn't sing. If I'm still alive, I can do anything.
Amy was told she cannot eat or drink, not a morsel, for the last 2 years.
It was April of my senior year, a week before my prom, and I was in a coma. Mom says I have Broadway on the brain. Don't get too comfy in that seat when I strut my stuff. You'll be on your feet. I was
that when they opened the stomach, it sort of exploded onto the roof of the operating room. It was so much pressure.
After 14 operations and 2 years without food or drinks, Amy spent months in a coma. But through her grit and determination, plus the help of doctors at 6 hospitals, she's made it this far.
And David was going to help you put together a little cabaret act.
Some girls prefer to wash and clean. I'd rather learn a dance routine. I was born to entertain. I remember waking up from my coma. I was so heavily sedated that I thought I was underwater. Then I tried taking bites of my brothers because I thought they were pieces of fruit. Since I couldn't talk, I made up my own sign language, which was mostly pointing to words on a board that my mom had made, then just a lot of... And then I remember the terribly sobering day that the doctor finally told me what was going on. He said I had no stomach anymore, I couldn't eat or drink, and he didn't know when or if that would ever be possible again. What do you say to that? Soon, I saw so many doctors come and go that I became numb to seeing doctors, almost as numb as they were to seeing me. I was 18, hormonal, and comatose for my senior prom. I would have loved to shout out to those young, eligible med school bachelors, hello, up here. I'm a person, I'm a woman, and legal. One time there was this really cute doctor and he was about to come in and examine me. So I put on a little makeup, a bit of mascara, a bit of rouge, and he came in, looked at me, and said my bronchial tubes were entrancing. My epiglottis filled him with glee. He simply loved my larynx and went wild about my pharynx, but he never said he loved me. He said my epidermis was darling and found my blood as blue as can be. He went through wild ecstatics when I showed him my lymphatics, but he never said he loved me. Once I loved such a shattering physician, quite the best looking doctor in the state. He looked after my physical condition, and his bedside manner was great. When I gaze up and see him there above me, looking less like a doctor than a Turk, I was tempted to whisper, do you love me, or do you merely love your work? He said, my cerebellum was brilliant, and my cerebrum far from NG. I know he thought a lot of my medulla oblongata, but he never said he loved me. He said my maxillaries were marvels, and from my sternum stunning to see. He did a double hurdle when I shook my pelvic girdle, but he never said he loved me. And though no doubt it was not very smart of me, I kept on wrecking my soul to figure out why he loved every part of me and yet not me as a whole. With my esophagus, he was ravished, enthusiastic to a degree. He said it was just enormous, my appendix veriformis. But he never said he loved me. Soon, as my health started to improve, I started to get my old spunk back, which the doctors were happy about. And not so happy about. I was restless, antsy, and starting to feel like a prisoner. My parents slept in the ICU with me every night, so they were feeling a little cooped up too. We had to get out, so we decided one day to make a break for it and go shopping. The time was 3:35 p.m. on a Tuesday. The doctors had rounded, the nurses were filling their meds, the coast was finally clear to bust out of this joint. We plotted our escape in the mess hall. Dad would keep a lookout while Mom and I headed towards the service elevators, down to the lobby, out the back entrance, onto 166th and Broadway, and we were free men. I was having a great time. I was finally free of my IV pole for an hour. I was dancing in the middle of the street singing, "I got no IVs to hold me down." I didn't understand why everyone was staring at me until my mom reminded me that I was still in my hospital gown. I didn't care. I turned a corner, raced down the street, and found myself face to face with Juanita, the social worker. Someone must have tipped her off. We were kindly escorted back, and at nurse's report that night, there was a little announcement. Amy Oestreicher, blood draw, bandage change, and please make sure that she and her family stay on the unit. You're not my mother. You can't give me a curfew. I know as an ICU patient, I just can't go traipsing about New York, but I was also a stir-crazy teenager. The doctors seemed to just expect me to be happy that I was alive, but I wanted a timetable for how long it would take to get my real life back again. People are telling me I'll be surgically reconnected soon, and I'll eventually be able to eat and drink soon enough. Soon enough. Before you know it, time, patience, the tears I'm shedding now, I hear will dry in time. The fears I'm fearing now, I hear will die in time. But while I wait around for tomorrow, watching life drift away, what about, just what about today? I know if I just wait, the sun will shine someday. And when it does, the weather will be fine someday. But while the skies I search for tomorrow stay that same shade of gray, what about, just what about today? Until Nirvana comes, what about today? Till Messiah comes, what about today? Till the mountains move and oceans part and angels sing so life can start, what about, yes, what about today? I can't help wondering if tomorrow ever comes. And what's my life been lived for if it never comes? I hear a lot of toasts to tomorrow, but none of them ever say, what about today? What about today? What about, yes, what about today? What about today? What about tomorrow? And the day after tomorrow? I'm never getting to college. All I wanted to do was act. I studied, I found the best teachers. Idiot. I'm sick of being a patient, a science experiment. People call me a miracle. Really? What kind of miracle? Nobody has any answers, not even the doctors. I thought my parents knew everything. They can't even help me. This sucks. I wish I could. I wish I was. want to cry. I want to feel the world around me whirling by. I want to cry for those that live and those that die. You sing a lullaby. I want to cry. I want to pray that all my wishes could come true after today. And should I put a word for you in? Should I say an extra Kyrie? I want to pray. I want to lie. I want to think that things are better than they are. I want to think we've gotten further and that far is just an inch away. I want to lie. A horse with wings. I want to think of things like that and other things. I want two brothers, one who laughs and one who sings. I hope the future brings a horse with wings. I want to know the things they told me way back then were really so. I want to make a little mark before I go. Not barely just get by. I want to fly. I wanted spiritual fulfillment, but I'd give that up in a heartbeat for a hunk of steak. Out of the hospital a year later, my parents were heartbroken that I couldn't eat, so they rid the house of all food. My dad would come home from work and hide in the garage eating his eggplant parmesan. But my sense of smell at that time was superhuman, so I was definitely on to him. It took 28 surgeries and nearly 7 years before I could eat or drink again. But with every obstacle, I seemed to discover a new opportunity. Like surgery number 13. I stuck in that hospital for months, waiting for answers. My mom started bringing me cheap art supplies. The day I picked up a paintbrush, my world changed forever. I had found a way to express things that were too painful, complicated, and overwhelming for words. The Today Show with Kathy Lee and Hoda heard about my artwork and my story, and they had me on for a segment they had called Everyone Has a Story. Kathy Lee and David Friedman wrote a song for me that was performed on that segment. And this is that song. My life was full of promise, 18, with my best days ahead, when I found myself in a coma, barely a heartbeat, practically dead. But I had so much to live for, I did. I just couldn't give up. So I found the strength to keep living and drink from a half-filled cup. Guess what? I'm still alive. I'm still here by my will, for I knew I just had to survive. Now there's not a day that my heart doesn't sing. If I'm still alive, I can do anything. And I will, 'cause I'm still alive. My life was full of danger, it was. crossroad, but in my agony, I still could see I was here, still alive, and by God's will, there was still hope that I could survive. Now there's not a day that my heart doesn't sing. If I'm still alive, I can do anything, and I will, I surely will, 'cause I'm still alive, still alive, I'm still alive. That was the song they wrote for me. It's not the path I would have planned for myself, but does anyone's life ever work out exactly how they plan it? There are only two things I know for sure at this point. One, you don't need a stomach to survive. And two, there's always something to be grateful for. And there's always a story to tell. All of these lines across my face tell you the story of who I am. So many stories of where I've been and how I got to where I am. But these stories don't mean anything if you've got no one to tell them to. It's true. 'Cause I was made for you. I climbed across the mountain tops, swam all across the ocean blue. I crossed all the lines and I broke all the rules. But baby, I broke them all for you. Oh, 'cause even when I was flat broke, you made me feel like $1,000,000. You do, 'cause I was made for you. You see the smile that's on my mouth? It's hiding the words that won't come out. All of my friends who think that I'm blessed, they don't know my head is a mess. No, they don't know who I really am, and they don't know what I've been through like you do, 'cause I was made for you. All of these lines across my face tell you the story of who I am. So many stories of where I've been and how I got to where I am. But these stories don't mean anything. You've got no one to tell them to. It's true, 'cause I was made for you. Oh yeah, it's true, 'cause I was made for you. Okay, I was watching an episode of Bridezillas the other day, and this bride completely flipped out because the flowers on her cake were the wrong shade of magenta. I mean, okay, we all blow things out of proportion sometimes, I still scream at my mom when she treats me like I'm 10. But sometimes you just got to remind yourself when the news is all bad, when you're sour and blue, when you start to get mad, you should do what I do. Tell yourself how lucky you are. When your life's going wrong, when the fates are unkind, when you're limping along and get kicked from behind, tell yourself how lucky you are. Why decry a cloudy sky, an empty purse, a crazy universe? My philosophy is simply things could be worse. So be happier here. Think of life as a thrill. And if worse comes to worse, which we all know it will, thank your lucky stars you've gotten this far. And tell yourself how lucky you are. How lucky you are. Thank you. I'll finish eating my cheese now.
Yes, have your time for cheese. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Fabulous performance, Amy. God.
Thank you.
You just really put a great smile on my face, and I'm sure the audience as well. It's just such a remarkable story, and you have so much joy. And what was it?
And energy for 11 o'clock at night on the East Coast.
Yes, thank you for that. And you had a very big day today because you won a book award for your book. And we're going to talk about that. And I want to ask you, though, what was it like performing for the first time after your recovery after 28 surgeries?
Yeah. Well, when I had premiered it in 2012, I had actually never talked about what had happened to me before. There was just that little news segment that came on a few years back, but I had never really spoken from my own perspective. And so, you know, I'd always wanted to put together songs on my own story. So it was definitely a leap when I just kind of wrote to all these theaters in New York, and then suddenly I booked a theater. I'm like, okay, now I'm just going to tell everyone in song. So on one level, one could say it would be very nerve-wracking, but theater was always, you know, I was born doing musical theater, so it honestly felt like I was coming home. So it was the first time since my coma that I really felt like my old self, but with, you know, a new moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And you were involved in musical theater in high school?
Involved is an understatement. I was born doing musical theater, and I talk about this in the full show that from the time I could remember, I was never not doing a show, ever. The longest I went was after my coma. That was how I identified. And, you know, when you know what you want to do as a kid so fiercely through a teenager, you think like, oh, my life is so set out. So then when I woke up from a coma, it's like, wait, I planned for this. What's going on? Which is, I'm sure, how a lot of teens can relate that had to graduate in virtual circumstances, that didn't really anticipate their life either. I didn't anticipate graduating high school in the ICU. But you know, you learn from everything if you want to.
Absolutely, you do. Well, we have lots to talk about. Let me just take a moment to remind our audience that posted in the chat is the tip jar, I think. I have to take a look at that myself. And also, your tax-deductible support is greatly appreciated to keep the MarshStream platform available to our communities during this time of theater closure. And so we very much appreciate your tips. And we encourage comments and questions from the audience, which our Zoom audience may post in the chat here, and the YouTube audience, you may also post questions. Our producer Brian will make sure that we get those questions and keep an eye on that. All comments and questions do get to the performer, and so we'll get to as many as we can. So don't hold back. The chat is open now. So tell us about this book award that you just received, and this is for the book on Gutless and Grateful that it just came out, and the title is My Beautiful Detour: An Unthinkable Journey from Gutless to Grateful. Yay!
Yeah. I actually wrote this, my memoir, a year ago. I just came out with an updated version, and I just finished recording the audiobook, which will be out very soon. So this came about because, journaling and really creativity, expression in any way was how I healed. So I had really healed at the beginning through journaling, mostly because, I couldn't eat or drink for years. So I had to keep my fingers busy. I was never someone that could just lie in bed watching movies. I had all of this writing from going through everything. And then also I have 3 wonderful brothers. One of my brothers stayed in the ICU for the first 72 days. I was in a coma and kept a journal of those first 72 days. That was how he coped too. Hi, Jeff, if you're watching. But so I incorporated those plus excerpts from my family we were really a team. Really all these passages together, I've shared my story in so many different aspects, but all the ins and outs and ups and downs, I wanted to share all that because, it's not easy going through an uncertain time, but you really don't know what you're capable of until you're forced to do it. So I wanted to hopefully, be an example that, things can be uncertain and difficult, but if you hang in there long enough, and you can eventually get through.
Absolutely. And now in your audiobook, do you sing?
Yes, that's why I was so excited about doing it. Well, listen, this quarantine has been the time to do all those creative bucket list things, right? So I've been wanting to do this for a long time. So I'm so excited about this audiobook coming out because I narrated all 500 and something pages, but I also, songwriting was a big part of my journey. In this musical, I only have one original song, but in my last musical that I just premiered is all original stuff. And I talk about how songwriting was so much a part of it, and so I get to incorporate some songs throughout. Also, the surgeon who saved my life, Dr. Stoller, who wrote the foreword, he is actually reading his foreword, which is really special for me. And I also might have one more surprise guest to read the afterword. Yeah, I'm really excited for that.
That's terrific. Could we hear an excerpt from your book?
No. Yeah, of course. So I actually wanted to share an excerpt about putting this show together, and this was the opening night. All righty. When Gutless and Grateful premiered in New York at the Triad in October 2012, everything came to fruition. I stopped comparing myself to others and realized that I had stayed true to myself. It felt like a springboard, my bridge to the world. I had no idea my story would not only resonate with people, but actually have an impact on them. People came up to me afterwards and told me that they were inspired by my story. They would almost apologize as if their own problems couldn't possibly compare, as though they were asking permission to share their own story. That always struck me odd because, as Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor, had expressed, suffering is relative. Although my situation was extreme, I experienced universal feelings that everyone goes through in life, whether it's a surgery, a breakup, or a broken heart. We feel connected through a shared experience. And that experience is what strengthens us just enough to keep getting through life's experiences day after day. So, as fearless as this seemed, telling my story actually made me feel normal for the first time. As audience members continued to tell me about their own obstacles and triumphs, it became clear to me how we all heal and move on when we're actually listened to, empathized with, and understood. As if it couldn't get any better, my brother called me as I was putting on blush backstage. Amy, William Finn is wandering around outside, waiting in line to get a ticket. Should I, waiting for a ticket? Invite him in. I couldn't believe William Finn, the Tony Award winning composer, had actually come. Now I was really ready. I meant to read the first excerpt first, but that was after I premiered it. But yeah.
That's fabulous. William Finn, that was a big supporter of yours.
Yeah, and I share in my full show, I share about how he came into my life at 15 and has been a great guy ever since, and still is a really great guy in and out. But he actually surprised me at my high school graduation, which is something I share in the full show. But it was very cool when he got to see it, and he gave me some advice on shaping it for the future, because I premiered in 2012, Gutless and Grateful, but ever since I've been touring it not only to theaters but to colleges and conferences, and as a mental health and sexual assault prevention program. And taking it to colleges is something that really opened my mind, because it's a time of uncertainty, whether it's COVID or not, where we're all navigating transitions in our lives. And so I've been doing the show and then talking with them about how we navigate change. And now, because we're all so virtually savvy, I've been able to take it to colleges virtually. So that's been cool too. So
That's fabulous. Wonderful.
yeah.
And did you want to do a second reading?
Yeah, I'm telling this in reverse order because I bookmarked things in reverse. So this was right at opening night. Now it was finally opening night. And I should preface this by saying my stomach exploded on the night of Passover, 2005, when I was 18. So maybe this was the true redemption my mother and I had originally planned for our Seder in 2005, interrupted by my exploding stomach, of course. I remember how just before opening night, as my mother helped me get into my red dress, she looked at me like she looked at her old daughter getting dressed up for a middle school musical. Looking into my eyes, she whispered, "My girl is back." All my life, I studied music, drama, writing, and lived for the world of the stage. It was only after I experienced all these challenges that I discovered just how powerful the world of theater and storytelling can be. Mom slipped my red dress over a new body, battered, bruised, covered in scars, bags, and medical tape. But my earrings were sparkling. My eyes were stained with eyeliner, not tears. And now I had tape on my body mic, in addition to my ostomy bag. I was not defeated. This could and would be a new start. As I took the bow for the very first premiere of Gutless and Grateful, I hoped I was inspiring others with the bizarre reality that anything is possible if you just keep moving forward. Everything and anything became possible once I was willing to take on this new life proudly. I knew I couldn't be 13 again, but I could be the best 25 I could be. I could still be the performer I always wanted to be as a kid, but now with a story to tell. And so that was just how I felt the opening night. And opening night, I had 26 surgeries. A week later on election day, I had my 27th. and it didn't go as planned at all, but that just inspired me to keep touring the musical. And as I healed through theater. And I think that's why theater, especially now, is so important, because whether we're watching on our screens or not, because it can address, universal issues that we might not have gone through that specific experience, but, we can all relate to facing these feelings that, that we see on stage or in movies or whatever. And that's why, especially now, like, we need stories, whatever stories, but we need stories, because we need to get out of our realities, but also relate on that human level that only stories can do. So yeah, go theater.
Absolutely. Well, that's fabulous. You're getting a lot of really wonderful comments that you'll be sent tomorrow, but I'll read a couple of them. Jersey City Theater Center says,
I know you.
and let's see. We do have your website posted, and I want to let everybody know we're going to talk a little more about the books and the different things that are going on with Amy, but all the information is on her website, so you'll be able to see that. Ellen Taylor Sisson says, fantastic, Amy. You looked and sounded amazing. Valerie David says, Amy, you are the best. You're amazing. Congrats on your my beautiful Detour Book Award. Woo woo! So proud of you. I wanted to ask, sending you lots of love. My question, are you going to do a documentary on your journey?
I wanted to, so call out to any documentary filmmakers if you want to. Hey, that'd be fun. Send me a note. Can you tell them a stage ham?
They may be listening. They may be listening. And Elizabeth says, do you now or did you in the past have a lot of voice lessons?
Yes, and you will hear my full musical that, that was a stage of healing for me too, because, before my coma, which I talk about more in my latest musical, I was molested by a voice teacher who I was really a big mentor in my life for 2 years, right before my coma. And right after I told my mom, 2 weeks later, my stomach exploded. So waking up and realizing I couldn't eat or drink and being very numb, I had to repress all those, emotions. And so healing came all at once, and it was a huge process, which is why art was such a healing resource for me. Because you know what? Sometimes it's kind of hard to get it all out in words. So I could just make a lot of messes. And I really have so much thanks to creativity in every form to help me put the pieces together. So yeah. But anyway, but now I am studying voice with wonderful, wonderful people in my life. So yeah.
It's great to hear. Now you have, tell us about, well, first of all, you have a performance coming up, I know, at the Proteus Theater, and it's Webways, Stories of Connection, Abnormal and Sublime. Tell us a little about that.
Yes, well, that is based off my musical Passageways, which you mentioned that I premiered, which I've turned into a kind of virtual journey. But Gutless and Grateful was the first time I had constructed what had happened to me in a theatrical arc through the beautiful song David Friedman and Kathy Lee wrote, one of my songs, and then these musical theater songs as it, so it was more of like a cabaret act. But throughout all this time, songwriting was just such a big part of my journey. But, these songs, they weren't ready to be shared yet. They were more for me. But eventually I was able to arrange them and construct them into a piece and use 200 of my artworks as projections. And I designed the set and got very into puppetry and things. So it's a very multidisciplinary piece that the one thing art can do really helped. It goes through everything, and it really goes into the sexual assault before my coma and brings everything together. And I say that all the mediums together really explore the internal and external landscape of PTSD. And also how nature healed me, because nature was a huge, I mean, if you just browse my art, which is on my website and all that stuff, and the cover of my book, trees are like, have been such a source of inspiration from the time I was 15. And the good part about nature is it was there before my coma, it was there after my coma. Hopefully it will keep being here for all of us. But it was, when your world feels like it's changed forever, it's nice to have that foundation. And so healing along with the planet has been very important for me. So it addresses that as well, passageways. And so this Webways is going to be premiering in Virginia this Friday, and this October 2nd and 7th. I'm very excited about that. It won the Gail Davis Playwriting Award, which is why it's being shown there. So who knew Zoom would open up all these opportunities, right? For everyone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's wonderful. You really discover that home can't be found, you said, but must be reimagined as we're liberated through the creative telling of our stories. So
that's the one thing, when life changes, you can't, we all go through this phase where, I wish things could go back to how they were during COVID, right? I wish we could go back, but you realize the only way you move forward is, you know what? I am who I've always been, plus what I've reaped from this change. And that's the only way we can really move on wholeheartedly. So
now, is Passageways out now, or that is coming?
The musical I premiered, but I'm still doing live stream performance of it. Again, you'll see a version of it at this theater in Virginia, but I must say I posted a link to all my virtual programs. So I am touring that. If anyone wants to do it at schools and colleges, I do talkbacks with that and stuff too. So listen, whether it's in a box or in my house or anything, I'm loving the performance. So.
I'm sorry, I think I was confusing that with, you have another book coming out, I think November 10th, Creativity and Gratitude, Exercises and Inspiration for a Year of Art, Hope, and Healing.
Because I'm not doing enough, right? No, yeah, so this is something I'm doing with a wonderful publishing company, Apollo Publishers. They were very inspired by how I use creativity to get through, that I write about in my memoir. And so they wanted to, publish a book of the actual things I did to help me that other people could do themselves. So I feel like this is a really good time to get this out there now, because it's a year's worth of exercises based on what I call my 4 hardcore skills to resilience that anyone can do. And I think it will, listen, who knows what the year ahead is going to be for all of us. But I hope these exercises can help like they helped me. So that will be, it's on pre-order now. I think you put a link to it somewhere. You can get on Amazon, but it will be out November 10th. So I'm excited about that.
And both your books are available on Amazon. And again, anyone can go to
site.
Amy's website, which is posted here. Another comment from Mary Connors. Thank you for all your inspiration, Amy. I'm speechless. And what an extraordinary family you have. Too. Keep shining. You are a beautiful soul.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, I think about your mother bringing you those paints. What a wonderful way. And everything we're seeing behind you, by the way, those are all your paint.
That's 0.0001 a thousand somewhere. I gotta figure out a way to store all this stuff better than pile it against the kitchen cabinet. But yeah.
I love the book you showed when you were performing. That's quite an amazing work.
You know what? Altered books is just something really fun that I encourage anyone to do. There's no real right or wrong way. This was something I did a long time ago. It was just a children's book, and I wanted to just create scenes based on, this was where I was in my journey at this point. This was like 8 years ago. But I'm working on a new altered book right now, and it's just something for me. But it's just, the fun thing about it is, take an old book,
I talk about how you can do this in my workbook, that you just gesso the pages, and just become a cool scrapbook and an excuse to write in books.
That's fantastic. Another comment from Cynthia Shaw. Amy, you are such a joyous inspiration. Bravo.
Yeah.
And I do want to ask about your TED Talks, because you have 3 TED Talks that have to do with trauma and PTSD, but you have a 4th one coming up on October 18th. Tell us about that. That's a different departure.
Yeah, well, the similarity from all of them, because it's my life force, is how creativity can ... Because creativity is not just for artists. But, I think we all realize that we are at a very big turning point right now. And, I've been asking myself, like, how can we really connect with ourselves and with each other if we don't even really feel a connection with the earth? Everything is interconnected. We are an integrated, interrelated ecosystem, and we have to start thinking of nature not as this non-living thing that we kind of walk by and admire, or pass in our cars, but as something giving us life and something that we live with. So I talk about, ways we can start. I think sometimes an issue feels so big sometimes, and we feel so remote from it, that, oh, I know climate change is a big deal and I care, but I don't know how to start. Well, the theme of this TED Talk is patchwork. And I love patchwork, but it's true that to make a big change, there are simple, small actions that we can each do. And my thing is how we can do it through creativity too. So the title of it is Creativity Connects, how we can, heal our planet in a time of a global pandemic. Because, this pandemic, this will pass eventually, but, a change like this that we're going through hasn't happened, in 65 million years. So, this is, we really have to do something now for our world. So I'm hoping to continue that conversation.
I very much agree with you, and we do once a month a show about climate and the work together to heal our Mother Earth. So I really look forward to seeing your TED Talk. And I know your theater, you are such a poster child for Theater for Resilience, and you have 4 strategies you mentioned earlier that you for resilience.
Yes, and I do a lot of workshops based on these, but if I say them really quick, they're gonna feel like these fluffy inspirational words you see on big posters. But I actually talk about how these are the actual strategies I use to survive. But to name them all, it's hope, stories, creativity, and gratitude. But again, these words that you could just like kind of read on on a little note card. This was the only therapy I had, because and I talk about in my book that, coming out of the hospital, I tried seeing a therapist, and the first thing he told my parents was, listen, she can't eat and she can't drink. It would be cruel for me to stick her in a room and talk about her feelings when she's hungry. I don't blame her. Mm-hmm. So then I was kind of like, all right, I'm on my own to figure this out. And so I had to work with what I had. But the good part was I discovered 4 things that are really accessible for anyone. And they helped me get through the worst, and they helped me get through the little things, and they helped me day to day. So,
right. You had mentioned them earlier, but I just was glad for you to repeat those, and we can read more about those. The hour passes so quickly. I do want to remind everybody that Amy will be as part of the International Solo Fest, and you will be able to see her on Friday, October 9th. I think you had it at 8 p.m., but that was your time, Eastern time.
Yeah, it will be 5 p.m. Thankfully, it'll be earlier, so I will have more energy then.
Very good.
Show.
Is there anything else you would like to say?
No, listen, I've done the Marsh stream, and I love you guys so much. Thank you for everything you do to keep theater alive, and people remember that we need these stories. So
We do indeed.
share yours too. No story is too big or too small, but I think especially now, we need to tell people where we are, because we heal through a shared experience. So don't keep it in, even
Thank
in
you
your
so
Zoom.
much. We love you. It's very wonderful to have you. A very special thank you to Amy Oestreicher for tonight's
Thank you, Gail.
featured presentation of Gutless and Grateful. And again, look for her show on the Marsh Stream. This International Solo Festival is October 7th through 11th. And next week, of course, we won't be here because of the International Solo Festival, but we'll be back with Solo Arts Heal in 2 weeks, October 14th, with Rob G. live from the UK. You think you're tired, he's going to be live from the UK, Amy. So in his incredible show, Forget Me Not, An Alzheimer's Whodunit. Forget Me Not, An Alzheimer's Whodunit is a multi-award-winning show from UK comic, poet, and mental health nurse Rob G. Rob plays 15 characters who deliver a series of tropes, clues, plot twists, and red herrings. And after seeing the show, the UK National Health Service recruited Rob to use it in delivering training for healthcare staff based on the themes of compassion and reporting concerns. Rob will perform segments of the show and discuss how the training works. So that's October 14th. Forget Me Not, An Alzheimer's Whodunit. So again, thank you to Amy Oestreicher and to our Zoom and YouTube audiences, Marsh Stream producer Brian, and to Kristen, and to artistic director Stephanie Wiseman. We're all in this together. Thank you.